Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Age of Decadence. We've got a couple quests now that are telling us to leave to a place called Madoran. So I think that's where I'm going to go. Now, ordinarily I would say stock up on weapons and such before I go, but I'm not a combat character. I'm going to have to try to avoid combat under every circumstance that I possibly can. So, let's go to the world map and head to Madoran. So, what's this? This is Madoran. Where am I right now? I'm down here in Terran. So that's a fair way to go, but let's go to it. And I'm off. Taking the demise of the Imperial Guards at the hands of the boatmen as a good omen, Lord Antidus steps up the recruitment efforts of House Daratan. Pardons are granted to bandits and raiders willing to serve the house, and mercenaries are hired en masse for the commercium's gold. Without the Imperial Guards to keep the newly arrived fighting men in check, the town quickly descends into near lawlessness, becoming little more than a camped mercenary army, waiting for the order to march. Though Antidus seems to hold the reins of the Sellsword Legion, it is the commercium who pays their wages, and the only loyalty a mercenary truly recognizes is to the one who pays him. By becoming the paymaster for their entire legion, the commercium effectively becomes Antidus' shadow partner, greatly expanding their influence and control over local trade. Backed by that legion, the commercium's influence grows rapidly alongside their control over local trade. Bored and seeking entertainment, the camp mercenaries spend their coins at the commercium's establishments almost as quickly as they earn them, making it a very profitable enterprise indeed. So it looks like I've pretty much messed that city up to my own profit. Emboldened by their success in Terran, the lords of the commercium set their sights on Madoran. Lord Galeus can't be controlled, ergo he must be replaced by someone more suitable. What the city needs is someone who will show proper respect to the guildmasters and perhaps even listen to an occasional piece of advice or two. Seranus, Lord Galeus' nephew, is a perfect candidate. He has the blood claim, he's young, weak, and already owes a fortune to the commercium. Still, replacing the most powerful man in the realm isn't an easy task and must be handled very delicately. Temporary alliances, disavowed the moment the goal is achieved, must be made. Assurances must be given. Most importantly, Lord Galeus and the Imperial Guards must be distracted and look the other way while the magic happens. Unwittingly, you double-crossed Fang and helped Cassius to replace him as Lord Antidus' personal Lordmaster. Unfortunately, there is little for him to do in Terran, thus House Daratan does not benefit from Cassius' vast knowledge of the lore of the olden days. Master Fang has managed to escape and, according to rumors, has resurfaced in Ganazar, quickly gaining Lord Meru's trust and favor. When the news of the attack reaches Madoran, House Daratan expresses their regret at the senseless bloodshed and reminds House Aurelian about the dangers of operating that far from Madoran. Lord Antidus assures the citizens of Madoran that the raiders have been dealt with and the mine has been taken under Daratan's control to safeguard the machines. You let Esbenes go when he was at your mercy. He put the money you gave him to good use, gathering a large group of raiders and proceeding to make a name for himself, raiding and pillaging, but staying away from Terran. No matter how you look at it, he owes you. Alright. It's kind of like a after report of that city. I suspect that's how it's going to go through the entire game. Alright. More loading. After a few weeks of travel, Madoran's marble minarets and sandstone domes finally appear out of the shimmering desert. Once the jewel of the Empire, it is now a city of crumbling ruins and forgotten glory. The rivers that fed it dry, its once fertile fields now barren rock and endless drifting sand. The Great War devastated Madoran. Almost a quarter of its citizens died in the arcane blast that created the infamous Abyss. The sickness that followed it nearly succeeded in wiping out the rest. But cities rarely die with dignity. Man returned to Madoran, scavengers seeking to loot the treasures of the past, oblivious to the weight of history around them as they squabbled over food and gold. Alright, so here we are in the ruined capital. So let's take a look. Land ahoy, discovering a new location boosts your spirit, 15 skill points gained. And I've got a fair amount of skill points, don't I? Let's take a look at what I got. Wow, I got 56 skill points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost my persuasion. I think. I'm proficient. I will boost it to adept. And that gives me 20. I will boost... I don't have enough to boost trading. I could boost one of these, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to boost Streetwise. Alright. And that still leaves me 6 skill points. I think I might boost Dodge. Just for defenses. Alright. So let's take a look at this place. You've got the outer walls that lead out to the desert. And a desert that is a wall, so as soon as I go here, it messes the camera. It's okay. Because this is made on the Torque engine, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. It's an old engine from like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was used for, I think, one of the Tribes games originally, and then it was released under a kind of open source kind of thing. I don't know if it was completely open source, but it was a license you could use. I did some work on it back when I was learning like game programming and such, but I didn't do too much myself. But it is one of the lesser used engines, even though at one time it looked like it was going to be pretty much all over the place. It has been superseded since then. There's the Mandarin Inn. There is the Grab-A-Bite Tavern. There's the Arena Master. They've got an arena in here. I gotta presume the city is huge. Oh, look, we got ancient ruins. We got a fallen minaret. Let's take a look at the local map. Okay. So this is like the square, the area I'm in then. So I only know the arena, the fort, and the main gate. So where am I supposed to... Let's take a look at the world map. It's only got the one. So let's take a look. Go to the trade district and talk to Stravos, the guildmaster of the Commercium. Madoran is famous for its arena. You should visit while you're in the city. And then Lord Antidus sent you to Madoran to find Domitus Ulpius, who had led one of the failed expeditions in search of the temple. So I gotta find that. So let's take a look. I think I've got to manually explore this area. So let's see who's around where I start. There's Kemnebi. He's named. And there's Clericus. You're too late, says a man standing next to an empty stall when you approach him. The caravan just left. It will take weeks before the next one's ready to depart. Where do you send caravans to? These days, mostly Genezar and Kaer Tor. Asmara and Kipper are gone. Terran's about to join them. We need markets for our goods, and the local goods to take back to cover the costs and turn some profit. There are a couple of mining villages that can make the trip there worthwhile, but they're an exception rather than the norm. Alright, Asmara and Kipper. The Imperial Guards took over Kipper 2 decades back and ran it into the ground. Asmara fell a few years ago. 2 lordlings tore it apart after their father's death. The way the story is told, the younger son gathered enough support and deposed his older brother, who somehow managed to escape, hired every mercenary company willing to fight for a cut of the action, and returned to claim the throne. The siege went on for years, and by the time the town fell and the mercenary companies took what they considered a fair share, there wasn't much left of it. Why didn't the Imperial Guard step in? The Guard said that the charter doesn't allow them to interfere in the internal affair of the houses, but the way I see it, the weaker of the houses, the stronger the Guards. At any rate, I don't see them putting their asses on the line just to prop up some lordling. Alright. What can you tell me about Genezar? This is how I learn about the world. It's a lovely town. It's built in cascading levels around the castle that gave the town its name, so the view alone is worth a trip. The archways of the low town become the walkways of the Skype Port. It's quite a sight, my friend. There's nothing like that left anymore. The locals are getting too obsessed with gods and worship, but maybe it's better than being obsessed with money and power, eh? I find it rather charming, to be honest. The Skype Port? It's one of the districts. The stories say that flying ships used to dock there, and it doesn't have these strange platforms, but they could have been used for just about anything, if you ask me. Of course, flying ships and chariots make better stories, so who am I to argue? Okay, what can you tell me about Kaer Tor? You've seen one military fort, you've seen them all. This one's just much bigger than all the others combined, but they keep it simple. Rows of barracks, granary, cookhouse, hospital, and the praetorium. This entire splendor is surrounded by walls to keep the guards from running away in the middle of the night, no doubt. You mentioned villages. They pop up here and there like mushrooms after a rain, but most don't last. It's hard to make it out on your own out there. They think they can grow some crops because they did it so well behind their shacks in the city, but a few acres field in the middle of nowhere is a different game. First, it takes more water for once. The water is fickle these days. One year you have enough to cover 3 fields, the next barely enough for 1. Second, there are a lot more birds and animals to watch for and guard your harvest against. Third, the rot. Once it starts spreading, your good is done. My uncle is a farmer, always talking about the rot. So I must be going now. Lore dump. And then there was a named guy over here. Kemnebi. What do you want? The man in front of you is in his 50s, his face deeply lined and weathered, suggesting that his owner spends most of his time outside, probably in the wasteland. I was just curious about what line of work you're in. The kind I don't talk about with people I don't know, says the man, turning away. Alright, I guess that settles that. I'll probably need to come back to him at some point. Let's take a look in here. At the Madoran Inn. There we go. You see a grizzled old fellow haggling with the innkeeper over a dish of scraps and a cup of watered wine. When they reach an agreement, the old man pulls the cup towards him for a long sip, savoring his drink, and reluctantly pours the rest into the bowl of yesterday's rice. He works the wine into the rice, which, along with half an onion, comprises his meal. After finishing, he lets his gaze linger a moment on the empty bowl before turning with a dispirited sigh to address the common room. "A tale," he says in a hoarse voice, before pausing to cough explosively. "Hearken, everyone, to a most wondrous tale, a tale I offer exclusively to the most distinguished patrons of this illustrious establishment. Let's listen to it." "Look around you, my friends," demands the old man. The patrons comply, obviously suspecting it is part of some feeble jest. "No, not at these four walls, you dolts. Look in wonder on the glorious city of Madoran. Countless cities and towns, villages, hamlets have crumbled into dust, or been submerged beneath the waves, or swallowed by the desert sands. But Madoran survives. For 10,000 years the mighty capital has stood, and for 10,000 years he will continue to stand, watching over—" "I heard the city was 1,000 years old," interrupts a surly-looking metalworker in the crowd. "And where did you hear that, pray tell?" The storyteller seems to grow in stature, looking down at the man with disdain. "I was born here, as was my father and my father's father, and his father before him. So which of us knows best, my gritty friend? Now set aside for a while the cackling of geese in the market, which is often mistaken for wisdom, and you will learn something of this city of all cities we are all so fortunate to call home." Madoran was old and wise, already a place of philosophers and statesmen when the Empire was nothing but an upstart kingdom. Yes, there were brawlers, full of strength and bluster, let us give violence its due. But what would have been their end without our art, our knowledge, our wisdom? The Empire had their legions, my esteemed comrades, but there is a limit to what can be accomplished through brutality. Add culture and knowledge to your strength and you have a potent force. The old Empire has fallen to dust, a heap of cracked stones where once stood mighty walls. Of ancient Alium, nothing remains but faded diagrams on a handful of mildewed scrolls. Madoran alone stands, her glory scornful of the passage of mere men, of time and decay, her nobles and warlords unfazed by. "I come inside to get away from the wind, not to bathe in it," a dusty scribe declares. "Yes, get to the tale before you crumble away yourself," another patron helpfully adds. "I'm getting to the tale," said the old-timer. He smiles still, but his eyes are tight with anger. "I know that such learned folk as yourselves must have all have heard of that dismal and storied ruin, that place of terror and woe, commonly named the Abyss. Well, there are rumors, there are tales, and there is truth. I will wager a meal that no one here has heard the truth." "And you know the truth?" asks the scribe with a smirk. "I certainly do," the storyteller snaps, for an instant unable to conceal the weary and bitter man he has become. "I happened in my travels upon a lore master walking alone at the edge of the desert. His apprentice had died on the road the week before, and, to worse luck, his mule soon after. The lore master himself was clinging to life by the barest thread. I shared my water with him, the only wealth I had to offer, for I am, as you see, a humble man. And in his gratitude he gifted me his finest scroll, a first-hand account of that poisoned zone which history has named the Abyss. This was 10 years ago, and the scroll itself is now lost, but luckily for you, my friends, I have committed it entire to the vault of my mind." He taps a finger meaningfully on one temple. "Still, 10 years is 10 years, and a few of the details may be mixed up, but I promise it is worth your time, and a coin or two besides." "It was during the final days of the Great War," he begins, with a drama running close to the ridiculous, "when earth and sky both were riven by terrible weapons, when catastrophe chased disaster. Entire cities vanished overnight, tens of thousands extinguished like candle flames swamped by the sea. Yet Madoran was impregnable, for no army could breach her mantle of magic. Any who approached were destroyed without mercy, like ants treading a bed of hot coals. But her enemies were as clever as they were relentless. One night, the city's magi tracked several new stars in the night sky, stars which moved but did not burn out and disappear as their more common brothers. They declared this a dark omen and commanded the minarets and spires to cast their nets just as these cursed beacons began to fall into the city. They were too late, however. One star escaped those nets to land in the venerable District of Wisdom. That was the time when sun dawned in darkest night, and the thunder that arose made the gods themselves tremble. When the real sun rose in the east, all could see that the District of Wisdom was no more. What is left is what we now call the Abyss. But that is not the end of the story. When that cruel dawn, a strange, mishappen man appeared at the gates. He was haggard and wan and stumbled as though wounded, yet raw power crackled the air around him. When he gestured, the steel gates, 12 feet high, crumbled as if no more than paper in his closed fist. The guards who rushed to meet him bent like reeds in a gale, but from the wind that bowed them they would never spring back. In that instant, the city was doomed, for this creature wasn't a man at all, but a demon, conjured in the unspeakable rituals of our enemies. There was, however, one who dared oppose him. Abu Hassan ibn Haddad al-Sarabi, first of the Magi. Though the lords of the sea all knew him to be doing their good work 1,000 miles from Madoran, he had somehow appeared in their direst need to stand calmly waiting in the path. The twisted creature sneered at the world's greatest magus, using the familiar form of greeting, an insult to such a powerful man, and asked if he still thirsted for knowledge man wasn't meant to know. Calmly, the magus replied that his thirst had been quenched a long time ago, and that his power, and that of his seals, had grown stronger since their last meeting, as the state of the demon's forlorn and raggedy host did attest. The demon had no witty reply to this, but reared up as if to strike him down. To the astonishment of everyone present, including the demon himself, his own limbs refused to obey him. His ribs cracked inward, and with a sound like twigs breaking, his legs buckled beneath him, and his eyes turned white, leaving him blind. Sealed within his ruined human form, he was unable to do anything but growl and curse. "What did they do with the demon?" inquired the scribe softly. Sometime during the story, the patron's taunts and grumbling had faded away, and everyone sat on the edge of his chair, fists clenched, wine forgotten. That detail the scroll did not reveal, says the old man, but I would venture the demon was locked away for eternity in the most impregnable sort of prisoner vault. I mean, what else would you do with such a thing? Alright, did the scroll mention the name of that demon? It did, says the storyteller. He is befuddled for a moment, since you've clearly the first person to ask him that. Balzurath? Beelzebub? It was an evil sound, like vinegar on the tongue. And here we go. What were the Magi working on before the attack on the city? The scroll didn't say. All I can tell you is that the grandest and tallest building in the city was the House of Magi, a dozen golden towers and silver arches hovering over the city. It is written that the highest pinnacle pierced the clouds, and the lowest catacombs struck deep into the earth, anchoring the tower in place. Can you see now what was lost? He is practically pleading for understanding. When will we ever rebuild such splendor? How? And the Abyss used to be called the District of Wisdom? That is correct. It was the heart of Madoran, a place of temples, libraries, and schools. Granted, all I saw was an old drawing, but the image left me speechless and filled my heart with sorrow. Lore masters say that the answers to any question could be found in the District of Wisdom, if one knew where to look and whom to ask. Men would come from all over the land to seek out our wisdom. Now, the only thing they seek here are the whores. So it was like a vast library? Not wholly inaccurate, he replies pompously, but it was also much more than that. The ancients mined knowledge in the way the slaves mine ore. This city boasted the best magi, algebraists, topologists, alchemists, engineers, and astronomers. Madoran had them all in one place. They walked these streets, breathed the same air, gazed upon the same stars. It was a time of wonder. And finally, what do you know about the gods? Old wives' tales, said the man dismissively. Men of wisdom won the war, not gods. Let those gods strike me down if I lie. Alright, that was interesting. A bunch of background lore. So I've got Cadmos and the Innkeeper. So who's Cadmos? You see a drunken man yelling at the patrons and waving around his spear. Accustomed to his outbursts, the patrons seem to be ignoring him. You couldn't help but notice it's a damn good spear. Steel, custom made. Nice spear. Nice spear, huh? This spear has made me the champion of the fucking arena back when the title meant something. He shoves the spear in your face, presumably for a closer look. Just ignore him, says one of the patrons. Cadmus is always like that when he starts drinking. Was he really a champion? Hard to believe, says the patron. You should have seen him 10 years ago when he was in his prime. Now he's a pale shadow of what he once was. I'm gonna leave, because even a drunk dude I can't really handle. Alright, let's talk to the Innkeeper. What can I get you, stranger? Nothing at the moment, yeah. Let's, I guess, head onward. This is where things really open up. Now we've got the Grab-A-Bite Tavern. Got a local guide. For only 10 Imperials, you get a tour of our glorious city and have all your questions answered. You hear the sounds of drums approaching the arrival. You hear the sounds of drums announcing the arrival of a caravan, and almost immediately crates, barrels, and sacks start flowing through the gates, followed by chained, dust-covered slaves and tired guards. Go and take a look. Once inside the gates, the new arrivals are dealt with surprising speed and efficiency. Slaves are taken to the auction block, paid for cargo, delivered to the consignees, guards paid and discharged to boost the local economy. All that's left are small-time traders hoping to sell their goods at a profit in a big city, and the vultures that prey upon them. Levy collectors who will take all they can, and cutthroats who will take everything, even their lives. One of the traders shakes his head and turns away from the levy collector to think it over. Almost immediately, he's approached by two rough-looking men who whisper something in his ear. The trader, still in a state of shock, accepts their generous offer much like a drowning man grasps at straws and follows them to his doom. That is not my problem, theoretically, but I think I'll follow them. Two rough-looking men... I don't know. I can't handle combat and I haven't saved the game yet. I will follow them. You follow them into a nearby alley, arriving just in time to witness the last act of the drama, the parting of the fool and his gold and possibly life. The thugs, now 3 of them, regard you as an extra bonus, 2 for the price of 1. What do we have here? Inquires one of the thugs, a skinny man with deep-seated eyes surrounding dark circles. Get out of here. I'm saying get out of here? Is this what you do for a living, rob and kill the newcomers? How's that any of your business? Asked the thug, looking a bit confused. Because from now on, it's my business. I'm new to the city and I need some spending money. You'll pay me half of each take, and in return... In return what? In return, I won't fucking kill you right here on this very spot. What's the body count? The body count is not something I have. You don't look so tough, and I've got to fight. And I'm going to go down, like, almost immediately. Okay. So... I don't have armor equipped. I don't have a weapon equipped. So I've got to equip a sword. So I'm gonna... I've got how many action points? 6 of them. So let's go with... Whirlwind. I don't think that's going to hit anything. That's a 1% chance to hit. Yeah. Regular attack. That is a 50% base attack. Let's just try Whirlwind again. Let's see how that has to offer. That is a 50% base attack, minus 67 for defense. Yeah, that's not going to hit anyone. Aim strike torso, or aim strike. Yeah. We'll do aim strike torso. Ah, no. A fast attack has a better chance to hit. A flurry has a better chance to hit. I don't think I'm going to hit anything, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's it. Yeah, I'm just going to get owned. I am not a combat person, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get back where I was. Alright, I'm back. We'll go ahead and get back to this area. Trigger that cutscene. And this time I'll say not my problem, because I can't deal with those guys. Alright, let's talk to the Arena Master, I guess. The Arena Master looks at you appraisingly and gives you the most convincing fake smile you've ever seen, beckoning you to come closer. Judging by the number of rings on his fingers, business is good. Look what crawled out of some shithole and made its way to our glorious city, or what's left of it. Seeking your fortune in the big city, I take it? Well, how about a job in the entertainment industry? What kind of entertainment? The Arena Master grins. The best kind. Fight in the arena to amuse the crowd and make a name for yourself. Everything that your victims have is yours. What do you say? Maybe later, because I am not a fighter. So let's see what's up here. There's a merchant there. Let's talk to them. This is where I can buy stuff. Looking to buy something new, trading your old junk, you come to the right place. Trust me, the humble store is all that stands between you and an untimely death. So take my advice and spend your money now while you're still alive. You have anything special? Special? You've heard about Zagros the Mad? No, he was the best gladiator I've seen. He was quick as lightning and about as merciful. He was captured in battle and sent to this arena to die for his sins. Zagros refused to die and killed everyone they sent against him. Hacked them to pieces like a madman, hence the name. Eventually, he was pardoned and given freedom, but he had nothing to go back to, so he stayed at the arena. Forged himself his own armor, Mermillo's style, and kept on fighting. He wore the mantle of the champion for 9 years, which has got to be some kind of record. What happened to him? He got old, lost some of his famous speed, and paid for it with his life. He was challenged by 3 brothers. The only name I remember is Ronan, for he was the one who killed Zagros. Ran him through with his spear. In his prime, Zagros would have torn them apart with his bare hands, but he was no longer in his prime. He should never have agreed to this fight. Not 1 against 3, but he wasn't the type to back down from a challenge. Let me guess if you have his armor. I do. His helmet and the arm guard, forged from the finest iron ore, as good as any steel. I won't sell them separately, so don't ask, but I'll give you a good price. 1,200 Imperials for the pair. I hope you don't expect me to pay the asking price. I don't need them. I kind of do, but not really. Let's come back for that later if I need to. It's like I could technically buy them, but I need my money for other things, I think. Alright, so this is the Imperial Guard Fort. State your business or move along. What do you want? Nothing. What am I looking for? Where does this go? Doesn't go anywhere. Anything else interesting out here? I'm not seeing any named people. Alright, this has got a house. It's a fairly big house with a rough stone floor, partially covered with moth-eaten carpets, walls that were painted at least a century ago, and salt-cured meat hanging from the ceiling. Alright. Nothing I need? Anything I need out here? Quintus's Palace of Pleasure. Nice. Where does this go? This goes to the Trade District. I need to go to the Trade District. I should check in before I start getting into trouble, I guess. You enter the Trade District, the glittering heart of Madoran's economy. A stream of merchants and their goods flow through the end arteries of this district, the tide of ebbing and flowing but never ceasing. Towering over the district is the golden dome of the Commercium headquarters. Once a temple to the old gods, now a place of worship for the only god the Commercium truly believes in, money. Pay, 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 says one of the traders, heading out and cursing loudly. Pay to reach the city, pay to enter the city, pay for the privilege to sell my own wares. Where does it stop? Why do you come here, then? As much as I hate to admit it, but it's the only real market. Nothing else comes close. You either starve yourself, selling your wares to the few villages and outposts that are still around, or you pay through the nose to take your wares to Madoran. What other choice is there? Aren't you with the Commercium? I work for myself. That's why I went into trading to begin with. It's not easy, and you have to stay out of the smaller towns, but Madoran is big enough to handle all the trading it does now and then some. Of course, we have to rent stalls from the Commercium and pay them a hefty cut at the end of the day, but like I said, what other choice is there? Who's running the... Why do you stay out of small towns? Small towns can only handle so much business, so if you bring your wares there, you'll be taking business from the Commercium and they won't like it one bit. Of course, you can sell directly to them, but it won't even cover the trip. So like I said, you either go to the Madoran or service villages and outposts, and they can't afford to pay much. If they pay you with produce and ore, you still need to sell it, which brings us back to Madoran. What about Ganazar? I tend to stay away from it. Their market is smaller, so you sell less and at lower prices, but you pay the same levies. Not to mention that ever since Meru started preaching, Ganazar is ruled by mobs of zealots, while the guards do nothing to rein them in. If you want my advice, stay away from it too. And who's running the Commercium here? Strabos. He's alright if you pay on time and keep your word. Of course, if you miss the payment or try to skip town, it's another story, but that's the nature of the business. Alright, so I gotta seek out Strabos. There's a worker I can look at. There's a merchant stall. I need a key to open that door, and there's the Commercium. Let's go to it. So much lore! RPG crawler, right? Stravos is expecting you upstairs. Alright, so I guess I go upstairs. And there's all kinds of stalls and merchants on the bottom. Okay. Where's Stravos? This is upstairs. Go to the second floor. Alright, going up. Stravos is expecting you? Okay. Master Stravos, known as Lord Stravos behind his back, started his career as a laborer for a small trading company. His chance came when the head merchant was assassinated in a particularly vicious takeover attempt. While others hesitated to step forward in fear of making themselves the next target, Stravos, who had nothing to lose, seized the moment and stepped into the recently vacated position. He didn't know much about the day-to-day running of the business, but he knew how to use brute force better than any of his predecessors. Stravos took this lesson to heart. He understood that quick, bold action was often enough to carry you to victory. And it was this attitude that gave him an edge over his rivals, pushing him all the way to the top. Ah, RPG crawler, come in, come in. I've heard quite a lot about you, but I've got to warn you. Maderin isn't some sleepy little village. It's a big city. Everything's big here. Money, gain, stakes. Linus might be happy to play second fiddle to Antidus. He probably even considers himself very clever for getting rid of Carinas. But let me assure you, that's not how we do things around here. I asked Linus to give me one of his best for a reason. What I need is a fresh face. I need someone very loyal to us, yet virtually unknown. I need you to talk to certain people, powerful people, and see where their loyalties lie. If an opportunity presents itself, persuade them to show certain flexibility. Alright, why do you need a fresh face? I can't have any of my men seen paying social visits to people of importance in a city where intrigue is a local sport. Such visits won't be overlooked. It must be a newcomer. What exactly will I be persuading them of? Gallius isn't interested in sharing his power. He thinks he can rule alone. I understand the sentiment, I really do. Yet the truth is, no man can rule alone today. Since Gallius is too stubborn to listen to the voice of reason, he must be replaced with a more suitable candidate. And who is the candidate? His nephew, Serranus. Gallius should have known better than to let that wretch live. Let him live? The boy is worse than useless. No skills, no ambitions, no desires. He spends most of his time betting whores who give him the title of victorious. He's an embarrassment to the family, yet he is family. Had Gallius been a smarter man, he would have staged an accident and plugged that hole. But his sister adores the boy and hopes to see him on the throne one day. I think we can make her a very happy woman and help her realize that dream earlier than she could ever expect. So who do you want me to talk to? Any man can be killed, even a man like Gallius. I believe you are a first-hand witness to such events in Terran. You also experience the chaos of the aftermath. We don't want chaos. We don't want infighting. We don't want to give hope to people like Antidus or the other 2-bit lords or the claims of the city. We want everything done properly and orderly. Are we on the same page, RPG Crawler? So far. So, when Gallius falls, another must take his place without delay. Influential nobles must immediately announce their support and accept him as the true and only heir to the throne. Imperial guards must do the same and stand firm to prevent any attempts at throwing our city into chaos. Talk to Lady Lorenza Kalani of House Kalani. Her house held Madoran until Gallius' forefathers showed up en force and took the city from them. Promise her whatever she wants. Her support is crucial, and she knows it. Next on the list is Legatus Pavola of the Imperial Guards. He has no reason to support Gallius, but he won't be eager to be a pawn in our games either. Talk to Lord Senna, too, see where he stands. He doesn't have as much influence as Lorenza, but his is an old name. In the right circles, it still carries a lot of weight. I have a few questions. Ask. What can you tell me about Madoran? It's the last great city, the only city that's left. Then again, how many great cities do we need? Has everything one could ever wish for, so why would you live anywhere else? Okay, more questions? No, maybe later. So I've got my my quest set up. Let's see, is there anything up here I can examine while I'm up here? Not seeing it. Whoops. Let's go down. Alright. So, I've got to find those people. There we go. I knew I had to tab something up. So we've got the alchemy trader, the imperial trader, the general trader, the capes trader, the armor trader, and I think there's a weapons trader around here. Nope. Oh well. Alright, so I've got to poke around this place. Figure out where to go first. So I got the blacksmith, the boatman, the healer, and an Abukar. What's Abukar? Alright. What is Abukar? Let's save the game before I go in there just in case this is terrible. Just in case this is terrible. So, what am I seeing around here? Ah, okay, here we go. I'm not seeing anything up here. I guess I go upstairs again? Oh, this is interesting. Let's talk to Abukar. You see a bald, bearded man fiddling with an old telescope, bearing signs of crude repair. If you want me to do a chart, you're wasting your time, says the man, his accent thick and heavy. What chart? I'm a stargazer, says the man impatiently. As if it should have been obvious, but I don't do charts anymore, so don't ask. So, what do you want? I need a lore master. I am that as well. Surely you've heard about Abukar, so tell me what you need and go away. What is this thing? A telescopium, a wonder of wonders. Through it, I observe stars and their movements, although it's not the stars, but the void between them that captures my attention now. Why? I've learned that the void is anything but empty. The darkness hides it well, but nothing can stay hidden forever. There are those that dwell in the void, and I've taken upon myself to watch them. Have you seen any yet? I have not, but the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. They are there, somewhere. I know that now. What makes you think that? What makes me think that? The wisdom of the ancients, contained in the scrolls I found in the ruins of the Library of Saros. Oh, the truth they revealed. I burned the scrolls, but I can't burn the words imprinted in my mind. They are the reason I watch the void now. What did they say? They said that the Magi reached far into the void and brought forth beings that are not of this or any other world, beings that know neither life the way we know it nor death. The link has been severed and the gate sealed, but the path remains. The seals can be unlocked and the spells can be reversed unless we stand guard and watch the void. Is that what the scrolls said, word for word? There were dozens of scrolls reduced to fragments. I had to decipher the message and deduce its meaning, hidden to the uninitiated. Any chance you might have erred a little bit? I'm a third-generation lore master, says Abukar proudly. I do not err. You mentioned the Library of Saros. Do you know where it is? There is nothing there. But if you want to gaze upon the ruins of the greatest library in the world, I won't stop you. Let me mark it on your map. What did you seek in the library? Knowledge, what else? I was trying to solve a problem, and I hoped that the great Library of Saros might shed some light on it. I was mistaken. What kind of problem? I was working on a device to detect energy fluctuations. It could detect random deviations with 80% accuracy, but couldn't handle larger and more frequent fluctuations. Obviously, I miscalculated somewhere, but the nature of the old world's magic is hardly as well-explored field these days. One has no choice but to make assumptions, which leads to setbacks and disappointments. I thought that magic was gone from the world. Then you thought wrong. The Magi are gone, but the magic they unleashed is still here, lurking in our own backyard, waiting for the right moment to strike. How do you fight that which you can't see? How do you stop that which has been prophesied to come? Our own backyard? You mean the Abyss? What else? We've accepted the Abyss and learned to stay away from it. We speak of magic that haunts it without any understanding of what it is and why it's still there, centuries later. Yet any force that affects the physical world can be detected and measured, even if it's invisible to the naked eye. This device, do you still have it? It's not for sale. Everything is for sale if the price is right. A man of the world, are you? Says Abukar with disdain. You want my device? Then bring me one of equal value. So you want me to explore the Abyss? Yes, but not the way fools do it, with sheep, mystical charts, and divining rods. The dangerous spots have abnormal energy spikes, so all you need to do is construct a device that can read them. Easier said than done, of course, but the paths worth traveling are never easy. I have another item I wanted you to look at. Make it quick, show him the map. The Temple of Thoragoth, says Abukar after studying the seal. It's a fool's errand. Antidas was searching for it for a long time. Even sent an expedition, but they didn't find anything. Talk to Domitius Ulpius if you want to know more. Okay. What do you know of Thoragoth? He wasn't of this world, nor none of them were. They were brought here and given life, which was the greatest folly of men. Be thankful that they are gone, but remain vigilant and stand ready to delay their return, for we are not what we once were, and will be all but helpless against them. I have another item I wanted you to look at? No, that's all. I can leave. Okay, so that was somewhat enlightening. And I think on that note, I'm going to wrap it up here, and I will continue onward with the people I have to meet in the next episode. For now, this is the RPG Crawler with the Age of Decadence. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. Until next time, take care and goodbye.